Subscribe to ensure you don't miss out on the newest articles. Jon Stewart, the humor king of the daily program, exclaimed, "I want Karoline Leavitt on my show." An unedited interview with the truth. The invitation was not random. Stewart was plainly targeting her. The young publicist is renowned for her aggressive demeanor and the notorious signal message leak attributed to Trump. Jon Stewart strolled onto the Daily Show stage, the lights catching his famous smile as the audience erupted in cheers. He sat down, casually tapping the desk, his eyes shining as if he were ready for a great performance. "Welcome to tonight," Stewart said. His tone was nonchalant but full of meaning. The crowd erupted in laughter, and Stewart did not disappoint. He leaned closer, his tone changing to ridicule. "Who is Leavitt? She is Trump's Generation Z puppet and the White House's youngest spokesman ever. However, don't let her age fool you. She ignited a controversy, and the whole nation is talking about the signal leak. A covert conversation about preparations to attack the Houthis, and someone, I'm not saying it was her, but yes, it was her, unintentionally included Jeffrey Goldberg from The Atlantic." The audience burst out laughing, others whistled, and Stewart shook his head in mock frustration. "She called it fake news. I call it cosmic ineptitude." He kept the onslaught going. "I assume she'd be excellent at covering tracks since that's her job, right? But no, she told the world who Trump intended to target before he could even tweet MAGA. Maybe she was too busy praying to look at the group chat list." Stewart lifted his eyebrow, simulating a prayer motion with oozing sarcasm, and the crowd burst into laughter. "I am not opposed to religion, but if God said don't include Jeffrey, she must have heard welcome the whole town instead." Then Stewart delivered a harder hit. He displayed a huge printed picture with a bogus statement. "Karoline, I will manage the press. Trump, strike the Houthis immediately." "This is what I imagine she sent," he continued, winking at the crowd. "No one has verified it, yet it seems so genuine, doesn't it? I imagine she mailed it and then sat there wondering why everything blew out." The audience applauded, and Stewart shrugged. "I'm simply helping her describe the narrative better since she obviously can't." But he wasn't finished. Stewart rose up, moved around the desk, and looked into the camera as if speaking to Leavitt herself. "Karoline, you tweeted that you were not afraid of me and that you would come here unfiltered. Come on, I've got some questions. How can you describe Signal as Trump's puppet? Or do you just hope to get through to me?" He laughed aloud. The audience applauded, and the studio buzzed louder than before. "You want uncensored, and I'll show the world how you fall." In his enthusiasm, Stewart swung his arm too violently, smashing the coffee cup on his desk. Glass flew, leaving a little scratch on his palm and a faint drip of blood. "Oh my goodness," he shouted, putting up his palm in hilarious amazement. "Look at this, Karoline. I'm bleeding for you." The crowd erupted with laughter, and the scene quickly went viral online. The video of Stewart shattering the cup and joking about Leavitt went viral within minutes. Stewart sat back down, wiping his hand with a napkin and smiling slightly. "I'm waiting for Karoline. You said you'd come, so don't let me tell you this tale alone. I guarantee it won't be pleasant." He winked and walked on to the next part, leaving the task unfinished. Stewart versus Leavitt went viral on social media, with his admirers roaring and saying he'll rip her apart. While conservatives responded, "Leavitt will show him." Leavitt took her phone, opened it, and made a tweet. "Stewart, I'm in. I'll be on The Daily Show. There is no running without editing. You want the truth and I'll provide it." She pushed send, her heart racing, yet a faint grin appeared on her face. After posting the tweet, she laid down her phone, ignoring the rush of alerts. She'd decided to enter this war, and she'd do it her way. Stewart started preparing for the interview. He summoned his production crew for a short backstage meeting. "Find me everything on Leavitt," he said, pointing to a whiteboard filled with notes. "Every remark, every controversy, even signal. I want to know what she's going to say before she speaks." An assistant said, "Do you think she can handle it?" Stewart laughed and moved closer to the table. "She's 27, works for Trump, and believes she can defeat me on my own turf? I'll teach her the truth in my own manner." He took a marker, circled signal on the board, and smiled at the team. I won't smash a cup this time, but she doesn't have a chance. The studio shone with strong lights. As Jon Stewart went out, the crowd erupted into loud applause. His characteristic sneer was plastered on his face. He waved and sat at the desk, his eyes glinting like a predator sensing prey. "Welcome to tonight," Stewart said, his tone light but determined. "We have a special guest. Karoline Leavitt, White House press secretary, who tweeted that she is not frightened of me and would come here unfiltered. So let's get her out." Karoline Leavitt appeared from the wings, confidently dressed in a nice navy suit with her blonde hair neatly pinned back. She bowed at the crowd and took the seat across from Stewart, locking eyes with him. Stewart did not waste a second. "Karoline, welcome to the Daily Show," he continued, his voice warm yet sarcastic. "I'm delighted you kept your promise. Unedited. Exactly how you intended. But first and foremost, how does it feel to be sitting here in front of a 61-year-old with a microphone and some jokes, after the whole nation has seen me convert your signal disaster into a comedy routine?" The crowd laughed loudly, and Leavitt smiled slightly while remaining calm. "Stewart, I am here to give you the truth," she said, her voice clear. "You may make fun of me, but I don't care what you think of me." Stewart raised his brow, as if he had just heard something foolish. "Oh, is that the truth? Great, Karoline, because I have a lot of truth to ask you about," he replied, leaning closer. "Let's start with Signal, the group conversation where you mistakenly revealed Trump's Houthi assault plans. Jeffrey Goldberg from The Atlantic was there, correct? How do you justify a reporter's access to the White House's secret military chat?" The audience laughed, and Stewart raised a hand as if to quiet them. "No, wait, you said false news, but it's ineptitude. So what's the truth here?" Leavitt inhaled softly, her eyes steadfast. "Stewart, I've stated it. It was a misunderstanding blown up by the media, including you," she said. "That conversation was not my operation, and I did not add anybody. I'm here to represent the president, not to engage in espionage games as you suppose." However, Stewart did not let her off the hook. He laughed loudly and slapped the desk. "Karoline, there is a mistake. You are the press secretary. Your duty is to manage the narrative, not to provide Jeffrey Goldberg unrestricted access to the White House." The crowd laughed again, and Stewart grinned at them. "I believe she added Jeffrey expecting him to write a Trump puff article." Leavitt grabbed her chair harder, but her tone remained steady. She added, "You can joke about it, but I'm not here to explain every text to you. I am here to serve the American people, not to amuse you." Stewart inclined his head, pretending astonishment. "Serve the American people? Then why are you Trump's Generation Z puppet? I mean, Karoline, you're 27. Do you really know what you're doing? Or are you simply reading what Trump says?" The audience applauded, and Stewart pushed harder. "I'm not saying you're not brilliant. You earned this job, but do you ever worry if you're merely a youthful face for Trump to brag about?" The question landed like a blow, and the crowd went wild. Leavitt pursed her lips and shot back quickly. "Stewart, I am nobody's puppet. I am here because I believe in what we are doing." Stewart grinned without skipping a beat. "So, do you trust Trump when he instructs you to cover up things like Signal, or do you just pray to get through difficult questions?" He mimed praying again, hands clasped, and the crowd laughed again. "I'm not against religion, Karoline, but if you're praying to lie better, God could be somewhere else." Stewart stood around the desk, arms outstretched like a stage performer. "Picture this," he added, his voice serious. "Karoline is at the White House, and her phone is ringing with Trump's text. 'Hit the hooth, Mo,' and she says, 'Don't worry, I'll handle the press.' Then boom, Jeffrey Goldberg appears and everyone knows. He handed out the false printed message from the previous concert, and the crowd howled. I'm not sure whether she sent it, but it seems so genuine, right? She is the youngest press secretary ever, but it seems she is learning on the job by making a complete mess of things." Leavitt attempted to intervene, saying, "Stewart, you're making up a story that's not true." But he cut her off immediately. "Karoline, it's not real and I don't need to make it up. You did it. You leaked Signal, you work for Trump, and now you're here thinking I'll take it easy because you're young." He turned to face the crowd. "She requested unedited, and I am giving her precisely that. The truth, no compassion. The audience applauded enthusiastically, and Stewart sat back, tapping the desk, eyes daring her to answer. Leavitt sat there, gaze fixed on Stewart and hands resting softly on her chair. She knew he was out to humiliate her and make her a laughingstock to millions. The crowd was still laughing and applauding, and the studio seemed like a Roman arena with Stewart as the unstoppable gladiator. "I'm not here to be your clown," she murmured softly but clearly enough for the microphone to pick up. Stewart laughed loudly, "Which is fine since I am not here to make you happy either." The room was filled with cheers and laughter from the audience. Jon Stewart riding high on confidence after aggressively pounding Karoline Leavitt throughout the first part of the interview. He sat back down after dumping on Signal, her beliefs, and her devotion to Trump, with a sneer lingering on his face. "Karoline, I have to give it to you. It is bold of you to come here," Stewart continued, his tone dripping with cynicism, "but you haven't replied anything other than, 'I'm not a puppet and I speak the truth.' So what is your truth? What do you have but prayers and the terrible Signal chat?" The audience laughed loudly again, and Stewart lifted his hands, as if he was waiting for an explanation she couldn't provide. Leavitt sat there, her gaze fixated on Stewart, hands softly resting on her chair. She took a big breath, and for the first time throughout the interview, she smiled slightly. "Stewart," she started, her voice calm but keen, "you want the truth. You say you're here to expose me, but I think it's time I exposed you." The crowd fell silent for a time, astonished by the change in her tone. Stewart raised an eyebrow, smirking. "Oh, you're going to expose me. Go for it, Karoline. I'm waiting." She leaned forward, eyes blazing. "You love mocking me about Signal, about being Trump's puppet, but have you ever looked at yourself?" she said, her tone steady but defiant. "You call yourself a truth-teller, but what did you say about free speech when it suited you?" Leavitt waved to her colleagues off stage, and the giant screen displayed an old Daily Show footage. In it, Stewart praised the previous administration's social media censorship policies, saying, "Sometimes we need limits to protect democracy." The audience murmured, and Stewart frowned, clearly taken aback. "That's you, Stewart," Leavitt said, pointing at the screen as the clip ended. "You backed limits on free speech when they went against what you didn't like. But now you blast Trump and me for the same thing. Who's the propagandist?" The crowd stayed silent, then scattered applause broke out. Stewart tried to recover, forcing a laugh. "That's old news, Karoline. I've evolved. You can't use that against me, kid." But Leavitt cut him off. "Your past shows you're not as neutral as you claim. You're only neutral when it's convenient. I don't pretend like you do." Stewart opened his mouth to retort, but Leavitt didn't give him a chance. She stood, stepped past her chair, and faced the audience directly. "He wants to humiliate me. Make me a joke because I'm young, because I work for Trump, because I pray," she said, her voice echoing through the studio. "But I've got a question for you, Stewart, and all of you," she turned, pointing at him. "Do you dare criticize the people funding this show, the big corporations, the billionaires you avoid mentioning? Or are you just good at attacking a 27-year-old because she's an easy target?" The audience froze. Then a sudden wave of loud applause erupted from the back. Stewart faltered, for the first time in the interview losing his cool. "Did you learn that from Trump?" he joked, trying to regain control. "I mean, attacking the interviewer, that's straight out of his playbook, right?" But Leavitt didn't smile. She stepped closer, eyes unwavering. "No, Stewart, this isn't Trump's trick. This is the truth you're afraid to face. You mock my faith. But at least I'm not pretending like you, a propagandist dressed up as a comedian. I'm not here to be your clown, and I won't let you turn me into a puppet in your story." The studio erupted in applause, this time not for Stewart but for Leavitt. Stewart raised his hands, trying to calm the mood. All right, you scored a point there, Karoline. But don't think you're off the hook that easily. I've still got questions." However, his voice lacked its earlier certainty, and the audience could see he was trying to mask his discomfort. Leavitt sat back down, smiling faintly. "Ask away, Stewart," she said, her tone calm, "but this time ask something real, not cheap jokes." Stewart tilted his head, attempting to regain his footing. "You're good. I'll give you that," he said, tapping the desk. "But you still haven't explained Signal. You can't keep deflecting with old clips of me forever." Leavitt shot back instantly. "I'm not deflecting. Signal was a mistake. I've said that. But it doesn't define me. You define yourself by attacking others, but when you're called out, you dodge. That's the difference between us." The audience clapped again, and this time the applause was louder, longer. Stewart forced a laugh. raising his hands like a temporary surrender. "You play tough, Karoline," he said, his voice tinged with reluctant admiration. "I invited you here for unedited, and you're giving me a real fight." He turned to the audience. "See this? She's no puppet, at least not tonight." The crowd laughed. But this time the laughter wasn't entirely in Stewart's favor. Leavitt had done the unthinkable. She didn't just survive. She turned the tables. She leaned toward Stewart, her voice low but clear enough for the mic to catch. "You want the truth, Stewart? Here's the truth. I'm not afraid of you, and I'm not here for you to humiliate. I'm here to show the country you're not the only one who gets to tell the story." Stewart looked at her, a flicker of surprise in his eyes, then laughed loudly. "Kid, you just turned my show into yours." The audience stood, clapping, and the studio shook with unprecedented energy. Stewart sank back into his chair, forcing a strained smile to hide his unease, while Leavitt held her steady gaze, hands resting lightly on her chair like a fighter who just won. The interview wasn't over, but a short clip, where Leavitt played Stewart's old video and challenged him to question himself, was posted to social media by the Daily Show team right after airing. Within minutes, the internet exploded like a bomb, and #Leavitt Stewart shot to the top of X's trending list. The first reactions came from conservatives who'd been waiting for a moment like this. "Karoline Leavitt just knocked out Jon Stewart," a prominent account tweeted, attaching the clip of Leavitt saying, "Who's the propagandist here?" The tweet racked up thousands of likes and retweets fast. Another wrote, "She's 27 and silent Stewart, a 61-year-old. This is Gen Z's comeback queen." Trump supporters across X began calling her the young conservative hero, sharing memes of Leavitt at a mic with captions like, "When you walk into the tiger's den and make the tiger run." Another viral meme spread, Stewart looking flustered with the text, "When the Gen Z kid schools the old man." But it wasn't just conservatives celebrating. Even some neutral viewers were impressed by Leavitt's wit and guts. "I don't like Trump, but Karoline just did the impossible," an ex-user commented. "She used Stewart's own words to smack him. That's a top-tier counterpunch." Another posted, "Stewart thought he'd humiliate her, but now he's the clown." Leavitt won. Stewart 0. The video of Leavitt daring Stewart to criticize the show's funders was shared tens of thousands of times, with comments like, "She just made the Daily Show her stage." Stewart's fans, usually used to him dominating these clashes, were thrown into chaos. Some tried to defend him. Stewart was just caught off guard. "He's still the satire king," but others couldn't deny his loss. "I love Stewart, but he got taken down." A fan tweeted, "Leavitt was too sharp. He didn't see it coming." Some criticized him harder. "He went too far mocking her faith, and now he's paying for it. Embarrassing." One account even posted a meme of Stewart breaking his coffee mug from the earlier episode, captioned, "When you think you'll win but get wrecked on your own turf." Meanwhile, news outlets and influencers J.